Welcome back to another episode. Now, this time we're going to talk about how to parse ID token and then how to store your access token. And then, how can you make a refresh token and all the thing around it. So come back and start implementation. We actually ended up at this part in the previous video. If you are coming to this video and you are new to this series, maybe you should go back and watch the previous videos. But if you don't have time to watch it, it's fine. So far, what we did is just we implemented the authorization token request in a login method, and then we added our environment stuff, and then we scoped it, and then we asked for authorization exchange token, and they passed the request, and we set the login afterwards when we received definitely that, right? What we're going to do now this time is we're going to go through the ID token and then parse it, and as well as access token and refresh token. Here is the things. The access token that you receive is usually, first of all, the client cannot decode it. You need secret to decode that. That's something that authorization server must do that, right? Another thing here is that, what I am talking about, let me show you here. Let's print out a result once more. Like here is the access token, right? And that usually, most of the time to leave for access token is pretty short. Like from the previous video until now, even if I refresh my app right now, I probably get signed out. I need to log in again. But how can apps like making a user always log in after even a couple of days? You come back and you're still logged in. Here is when you implement refresh token. Yes, when you're coming back, you already request for offline access. You get a refresh token. You're gonna go and refresh the token. So and exchange it with a new token which you can use all the time. That is nice. What we're going to do, I'm going to go to my constant and define the key because I want to keep that in my storage. I just want to have a consistent way of writing that. So I'm going to go here and say, I need a refresh token key, and that must be refresh token. Just the key for my storage. So now this is good. So now I have everything that I need. So I just need to know how I can deserialize like my ID token. Let's look at my ID token quickly. I'm gonna print my result.id token. I want you to look at this right now. So you have, that's something that you cannot do. You need to parse your ID token, right? Let's see how we can do that. Oh, first of all, let's actually get back to the part that we are going to look at the ID token. Let's look at the ID token here. I need to say this is going to be that. I will go and sign out. Well, at the moment, it doesn't do anything. I just want to see a result in my console. There you go. So now if I click, then it says that, and then I will be logged in. There you go. Here is my access token. Here is my ID token, actually. So my ID token, if you remember, you can actually decode it. That's the job. So it will have two dots. You look at this here. There is one here dot. You'll see. So we need to parse this ID token. So I'm going to write a parser here. Did I parse ID token? So now I need to parse my ID token. I will define my parse ID token as a function here, which is going to accept this string, right? The 3-part string. So first of all, you will remember the ID token has 3 parts, right? So we're gonna get the parts first. ID token dot split by, how can we split that? With dots. And then we move on. So, well, the split might have this as well everywhere. So as that's good. So look at this here. You can actually pass a pattern like a regex. So I'm just gonna pass this. All right. So I just add this split. Then move on. So we're gonna go and actually iterate over, the each part and decode them. So, well, here is the things. We're going to have this, we're going to convert it to a JSON format, right? So it's going to be a map of dynamic. Like we want to convert it to a map, then later we can use from JSON and then, convert this map to a Dart object. So that's going to decode my source. So far, so good. So what is my source? Then I have this UTF 8 dot decoder or decode. What are we going to decode? Well, here is the thing. We're going to decode the part 1. Like you remember ID token, header, body, and signatures. We're gonna have the body. Body is the middle, like part 1. So that's a base 64 URL, and then we're gonna decode that. Good. Again, we're gonna normalize that part, and then we can decode it. So therefore, we need to have a base URL and normalize. That's good. What part? Part 1. Why? Because that is the part is going to be body. But let's now take a look at our JSON here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go up here, and instead of print here, I'm just gonna pass this ID token. Well, there will be a problem here. I will show you why. We defined this must be always required, but now it can be somehow null. I just want to do this as well. Say if result.id token is not null, then this. So here is the case. I'm going to say if result is not null, then the result.id token. So in this case, I am pretty sure that we have this. Well, I mean, the good thing, a better approach is maybe to also double check. Here we go, double check. It's not null. So then in this case, you're pretty sure that this token, if you're using this, operator, you're making sure that is always, not null. So now if I go to parse token, I get this token for sure. I map it, I decode it, I get the body part. That's the body part. And then I print a JSON. Now it must be meaningful. Last time we saw this base 64 URL stuff, but now we should probably be able to see some object. Let's take a look at that. Let's go there. Actually, here's the console, sign in. I'm already signed in probably. There you go. There you go. Voila. I receive the roles. I receive permissions, descriptions, and a bunch of other things that you are seeing right now as names, pictures, and emails. All right. So that is as a map, but I really like to serialize or use convert it to Dart object. What we want to do. So we have well, that's a good thing to do. It's I'm gonna go to my model. I will create auth 0 ID token dot dart. So I want to use JSON serializable to be able to write or serialize, deserialize these ID tokens. So I'm gonna define my auth0 ID token. Let's quickly do that. I will fast forward this and you can take a look at that later. It's easy. Let's fast forward it. I will write and then fast forward. All right, now I'm finishing up this model. So I looked at the JSON that I received, the parse we parsed from ID token. These are the values. You could actually even check the, jot.io and check those. So I looked at that and I created this model. I added the JSON serializable on the model. These are mandatory for sure. And these are the variable. One thing that I wanted to make it consistent is using this camel case, and well, the key here is updated at underline at in the ID token. I just converted to this. And then one important thing here is that the user ID, in fact, from ID token is the sub. Sub is representing user ID. This is a unique identifier for your user, something that you can store in database or somewhere, or associate your user with, right? And a bunch of other things. And then also this one, the key was this, but then I used it this way. Now I'm pretty ready. I also created my from JSON and to JSON, uh, and pass these, oh, this is actually wrong. Pass this. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to actually open up my terminal. And I say Flutter pop build runner. I guess that is the command. Flutter build runner, and perhaps. Oh, I think this is going. Oh yeah, there we go. And then also passing the delete conflicting outputs to make sure that the conflicting outputs are deleted. So let's now generate this. Hopefully there is no error, and then this is going to be generated, and I'm gonna have my model ready. And why did we do that? Because now we can pass the JSON of ID token that we parse to from JSON, and then receive a Dart, a beautiful Dart object. So then we can deal with that everywhere in our application. So that's very good. I see also there is a missing dependency of JSON token. I need to also add that to my dependency. That's why it didn't show up. That's good. So I'm gonna add that to my dependencies. That's fine. That is working. So let's add before continue. This must be added. And to give you an idea why and what happens is that I already had JSON serializable in my dev dependencies. Let's open up pop gamify there, but I forgot to add JSON annotation to dependencies. You could use that, but it's depreciated. You need to add them separately. So that's good. So now I created my model. Everything looks fine. It's working pretty good. I have these method also, and also the file that I mentioned is generated there. So seems like everything is working pretty fine. Now what we want to do, we want to go back to the auth service where we had this parse token. Now we are proudly can say this is going to return auth0 ID token. There you go. But then you have this JSON. So what you need to do, you need to return auth0 ID token from JSON, pass the JSON, and that's it. So now if I go to my login where I pass this, okay, let's actually give you a tip. I can actually now print out my result.id token, but that will say this is an instance of ID token. How can you fix that? Then you can go to here. You can overread your to JSON, overread to string. Sorry. and then you return something that you want. What do you want? Technically, you want to make this as something that should be returned, right? I will return an object with this, and I will just say to string. And I will need to fix this. Quickly, I select them, and I will go do that like this. So, and also last one. There you go. So now you have a beautiful to a string for that. So now if I print it, let's look at that, how is gonna work. So I have it printed here. Nice. Go sign in. And now we should see a beautiful, oh, I need to hot restart for sure. I changed a lot of things. I need to hot restart to make sure everything is gonna work. And also move this one here. So make sure if it's not logged in or there's no ID token, that we should not really say it's logged in, right? All right, now I want to have a hot restart first. Very good. So now I want to print this, and I must have a very good. All right, now what I can do, I can just say good. Now I can hot restart and take a look at the parse one. So, but I don't want actually result that ID token. In fact, I want to have token. Oh, actually, this is ID token, in fact, and there. And then I will print this one out instead. Now I'm gonna go and restart, hot restart. Then it should go back to home page because we're still not securing and saving anything. I'm gonna click on that, go there, and then I will get the token, and there you go. So now you have this map is beautifully written for you, as you can see, parsed. Everything is here. Very nice. We will add actually more and more to this ID token model. And at the moment it's just this properties, but we will have more and more things to the ID token. That is good. So I'll see you in the next chapter or next episode to request the user info and securing our access token and refresh token for refreshing our tokens. See you in the next episode.